podcast. Here are your hosts, Cam and Kobe.
Welcome to the Casual Preppers Podcast, the only place for prepping, survival, and entertainment. We are your hosts, Cameron and Kobe, and we are ready to bring survival goodness direct to your dirty little ear holes.
We're going to do a special.
Yeah, man,
episode.
this is a very special day for us, as you
Right.
can see. We got the man, the myth, the legend.
We don't just have his picture up there.
Yeah, this isn't just a static picture. He just always smiles. You see? We got Cliff, the urban prepper, is with us, man. Hey, thanks for coming, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We couldn't be more excited. We're going to talk about urban preparedness for practical people. That's kind of what we're calling it. So we're stoked.
Great episode because we're the rural and he's the urban.
Yeah,
We're
man.
going to get the best mix here.
Yeah, it's like the
But
swirl.
you guys are also casual, and I think we're all kind of laid back with the overall preparedness thing, so I think it should be a good mix.
Yeah, we're all casual here.
Yeah, super
Still
duper
casual.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, but guys, did you guys know that most subscription boxes are full of samples and junk you'll never use? You know what? Not BattleBox. It's the monthly subscription box for men, full of solid gear for adventure seekers, survivalists, outdoor enthusiasts, casual preppers, urban preppers, all kinds of preppers. Each month, BattleBox sends you the coolest selection of handpicked outdoor survival and everyday carry gear, all valued at far more than what you normally pay. You never know what's in the next box, but here's a sampling of what users received this month. The SOG Camp Axe with sheath. Cam,
I love it.
you're in
I
love
love
with
all the SOG stuff.
it. You do. You're a SOG nut, right?
So they gave you one in a box.
Yeah, you got one. The SOG Snippet Multi-Tool.
And another
SOG.
Awesome SOG.
It's SOG Madness in this month's battle box. All this badassness starts at about $30 a month. They've shipped almost 1 million boxes and won Best Men's Subscription Box of 2017. And they got a brand new show on Netflix. Did you know that, Cameron?
I did.
Southern Survival.
Yeah, you want to see what they do?
Yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
It's freaking amazing. Our listeners get a free knife when you sign up at trybattlebox.com/casualpreppers. That is trybattlebox.com/casualpreppers. Get your first battle box plus a free knife at trybattlebox.com/casualpreppers.
And a free emotional connection to the movie on Netflix.
You do, yeah. It's like all of a sudden, like you're part of Netflix.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
So important.
Now, getting back to our guest today, thank you so much for coming again, Cliff. Like, we're stoked. If you listen to us at all, you know that we don't do this very often, so you ought to feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
I feel pretty special, and since I talked with you guys last time, every time I do some shopping now, I'm always putting Casual Preppers and seeing if I have a coupon code for it. So.
Yes. It's
wherever
rubbing
I
off.
shop at now. So.
It's rubbing off. So let's get started. Can you kind of give us a quick background on you? Tell us about your YouTube channel and what it's all about.
Yeah. So again, my name's Cliff. I live and work in the Seattle area. I work in software engineering by day. I am married and I have 2 kids and a couple dogs and fish and a cat.
Man.
And I'm also a prepper. So, so I got into emergency preparedness probably around a decade ago. When at the time I was engaged to my wife, and I started getting a little bit freaked out about just being a partner with someone and living kind of a shared life. And so then I started sneak dried goods, rice and beans and lentils and stuff, and hide them in the trunk of the car. And over a period of months before our wedding date, and my wife eventually figured out we had no shocks left in the vehicle and found this big stockpile of dried goods. And then I had to kind of come out of the closet saying, yeah, I'm looking into getting into prepping. And then when my son was born, then like this person was solely reliant on me to provide for him for safety and for everything really. And so then I went full on at that point. As far as the YouTube channel, in your everyday life, oftentimes, not everyone gets to talk with nice people like you, but in my everyday life, people don't want to talk about prepping. They don't want to talk about what's the best Mylar bag to use or what flashlights do they use for the EDC. And so I reached out to the folks on YouTube to just kind of collaborate with people, get some ideas on the various things that I was working on. And over about a decade now, I have around 172,000 subscribers, I think now, and
nice.
A lot of different videos, about 500 videos. And it's just been an awesome outlet where it's allowed me to meet people all around the world that are like-minded preppers. And I try to keep everything thoroughly grounded and fun and practical, because when I originally started the channel, it wasn't as much of that. It was a lot of it was rural prepping, but it was more from maybe more of a military background where more tactical, and people were super into their fishing nets and what kukri to use, and wasn't really relevant for me. I lived closer to a Starbucks than any river that I could use the fishing net, so that's how I kind of came up with the whole like urban prepper. And I'm not. While my name says the urban prepper, I'm one of many urban preppers, I imagine.
Oh, man. Well, so that's cool, but we are the only casual preppers, so it's just how it goes.
That's a fact check.
Yeah, so, okay, so if people want to go check you out, just go to YouTube, search the Urban Prepper, they're going to find you.
Yeah, if they go to YouTube, search the Urban Prepper. I'm also on a lot of different other sites, too, and you'll find me on Twitter and TikTok and all sorts of sites.
Perfect. That's great. So let's talk about, being an urban prepper. I mean, tell us about, Cam and I, we both live in the sticks. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're in this rural area that is basically cut off from, we're an island out here, man. We're in the middle of nowhere. And so a lot of times when we're talking about prepping and we're talking about these different aspects of things you have to get ready for, it's kind of from our point of view, from this rural sort of mindset. Right. And so that's kind of why we wanted to bring you on to kind of help balance us out a little bit. Let's talk about what is your urban prepping philosophy? You know what I mean? How do you look at prepping as an urban guy?
So for me, everything with prepping starts off with EDC. So your everyday carry, the stuff that you have on you. And I think in an urban philosophy, it's not taboo to gravitate towards some of the technology and the things that you have to offer in being a part of the grid and the system within an urban environment, versus if you're in a rural environment, it's more about sustainability and self-sufficiency and things like that. Where in an urban environment, a lot of the stuff that I do starts from the EDC and expands out from there and gravitates into different systems. So I try to approach, as far as my philosophy with urban preparedness, I try to approach it as you would a software engineering project, where you're coming up with various designs and requirements, and everything is kind of a module with itself and works in an overall system. It's a series of components that work in an overall system that lends itself to an urban environment. So, if you're in a rural environment, you might have a barn or some kind of outbuilding that has a lot of supplies in there. For urban environments, you have to be a little bit more creative if you're in an apartment, for example, in downtown, as far as the storage of supplies. But I think overall, it's not shying away from the stuff that is easy to use in an urban environment with regard to technology, leveraging as best you can, and expanding out from there in some kind of methodical system. And that's my overall approach and philosophy, I guess, for urban preparedness.
Awesome. I love starting with EDC because I think that is like the base as a prepper. I think that's it's such a good place to start.
It's the gateway drug to prepping. Yeah. Once you could get someone into doing an EDC, you could probably get them expanding out from there.
It's so true, man. In EDC, it's so much fun. And I think that's what I love about it too. And that's kind of one of the things that we like about prepping is we try and make it fun. And I think, EDC, you build these kits and you have these different kits for these different things. And, knives are freaking fun, and all that type of stuff. So I love that you kind of start with EDC and move out from there.
And having a super cool EDC will help recruit new people into prepping, I think. So while it might not be practical to have the most expensive knife or the most tame flashlight, sometimes it's cool to go all out on your EDC because people are going to notice that you could show it off a little bit, and it might encourage someone else to get into prepping because let's add a really cool flashlight or multi-tool or something in this EDC. So I think it's a good kind of introduction and portfolio to help get people
that's kind of
interested in it.
Always the time I start to show off gear. Like even the 4th, they pulled out like Gatapack, their little electric lighter. And I was like lighting fireworks. I'm like, boom.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, what's that? So it is totally a good thing to show off. But
and I loved you guys' episode on EDC too. That was awesome. So.
Yeah, we love EDC, man. I mean, that's a big piece of what we do. And a
lot of the gear we get to try out EDC.
Absolutely. No, I love that, man. I think that's awesome. So, as an urban prepper, again, it's so different than how we view the world and how we see things. Like right now, what are the things that concern you the most? Like, what are the things that keep making you prepare and that keep making you move forward and do the things you're doing? I mean, are there specific events right now that are doing that, and is there like kind of an overall generic idea that keeps you going?
Yeah, if you would have asked me that 5 to 10 years ago, I would have said something more along the lines of some natural disaster.
Yeah.
For example, we live pretty close to Mount Rainier and the kind of the Cascadia fault line area.
Speaking of that,
I was always.
I got to tell you, I just started reading a book called Devolution. It's from Max. What the crap's the guy who wrote World War Z.
Okay.
And so it's about a Sasquatch disaster at Mount Rainier. It is awesome. Anyways, I just thought I'd tell you about that. You should check it out because it's at Mount Rainier. So, anyways.
It could be a follow-up to your Bigfoot video that you did on YouTube.
We're going to have to go up there.
Get the conversation going. But originally I was into earthquakes and volcanic eruption type stuff is what, and I think mainly in an urban environment, I think most people are concerned about job loss. Because that could be an emergency right off the bat. But now, like with urban, you're talking lots of people. So right now, it's stuff with regard to lots of people, like civil unrest and
you're seeing some stuff with that civil unrest right now, right?
Yeah, we're getting firsthand. The nation of Chaz or Chop came and left. But yeah, that was right on the back door area. So I think right now that's what's inspiring me a lot to up my game for preparedness in an urban environment.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I mean, those are the things that are kind of keeping us going too. This it just feels like 2020 is this convergence of all types of SHTF events, and like everything is coming together. We have COVID, we have this Black Lives Matter thing going on, this police brutality. We have elections. I mean, freaking Kanye West is running for president. How nuts is the world that we live in right now? I mean, it's bonkers in this economy. Who knows what's going to happen moving forward? You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think we're all prepping for the same stuff at this point, but it's just kind of interesting to see, what your views are being where you are.
I think in general, with prepping, if something scares you, something makes you worried, and that's what gives you the fuel to continue doing what you're doing. If nothing worried you, you probably wouldn't be a prepper, or you wouldn't be as steadfast with it. So you have to have something that's really motivating you, even if it's fear-based, and so that's my approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the same boat as you, where it's like, once you kind of become sort of, head of a family, you start to think, oh my gosh, I have to take care of these people, and they're counting on me to make sure they're safe and fed and they have water and all these types of things. And I'm sure this is the same with you. I feel like the more I prep, the better I feel about everything. It's just I don't worry about these types of things as much, and that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, totally. I mean, prepping, all the little prepping projects, whether it's putting something in your car for the roadside assistance or anything like it just gives me peace of mind for each one of those things, that it never stops. So I get peace of mind about my fire security or my vehicle preps, or I get peace of mind for my long-term food storage. And it just, for me, it helps as a kind of a family man, just getting that reassurance that I have at least some kind of plan in place for that. It helps me sleep better at night.
It's huge, yeah. Kobe and I talked about that a lot when the virus started happening and they started limiting, the grocery stores were getting, completely cleaned out, that we just really didn't feel, we're like, well, let's just kind of add to our storage plan, but we didn't feel there was any stress or any need to go and do it right away. It made us nervous, obviously, because we didn't know where it would end up, but I think that's one of the biggest parts of the whole thing, is just not being stressed out and not acting like some of these people that don't know why they just filled their whole cart full of toilet paper. They're like, I don't know why, but everybody else is doing it. I'm going to get it. And they just start like packing stuff in that they don't know what they're going to do with, or even have a place for it. And all the frozen goods are like completely toast because they don't have a place to put them.
Yep.
I just saw they were hot.
I'd like to think that the preppers weren't the ones panic buying during that initial time. And I think most of us were, when everyone was at the grocery store buying all like the stuff that they should have bought a while ago, I was buying candy bars that were on sale and adding to complementing some of my other preps because I was good on the other things.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's just nice to know that, you don't have to go if you don't need to. You're okay, Yep. And if it would have been worse, if this pandemic would have been a virus that was, more along the lines of like Ebola or something like that. Can you imagine? You wouldn't want to go out. And so it's just so nice.
Well, that's why I felt a little like this is a bit of a training run of what could come and what could be way worse. But you said, it's good to see like that the preppers probably weren't out there doing that. The only downside was the media and some of the things they ran on. Well, now the preppers are stars of the show, and they were focusing on still the like super extreme preppers.
Yeah.
I'm like, now we even look worse probably.
yeah, preppers have been getting made fun of for years now, and hopefully that we're seeing
yeah,
cool
I'm hoping
maybe not
they
drains
kind
on the
of
system.
are seeking out some of the more casual stuff, not the hard.
Yeah.
But the media was sure pushing some of the doomsday preppers more. I'm like, stop.
Have you seen in your channel in the last few months, have you seen an uptick in viewers and things like that?
Totally, yeah. People are looking for answers right now, and you see an uptick in subscribers and view counts for videos, especially on certain subjects. If you put the word pandemic in it, you're going to get a lot more views than normal. And then like on the back end side of things, as far as like people buying gear and stuff, you can kind of see that for any kind of affiliate accounts that you might use, if people are trying to get a little bit more prepared on the things that are concerns to them.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, I'm glad people are starting to think about it, and like Cam said, I'm hoping it's a wake up call for a lot of people. I mean, I don't know about you, but the more people we can bring into the fold, the better, in my opinion.
For sure, better, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do my part as bringing more of like the kind of the software engineers and the kind of white collar jobs in a downtown environment, because I think they'll bring a different perspective into the world of emergency preparedness, because I think a lot of it lends itself more towards tactical and military style approaches to things, and maybe not as much as why don't we get a couple like project managers for like Disney or whatever, and see what they would come up with for a strategy for preparedness, just to give a different point of view. I like points of views and evaluating them and seeing what works best for me. Yeah,
it's so. I mean, in talking about this, how do we bring in more people? Like, how do we make prepping something that's cool? Like, how do we bring in those everyday people in and make it seem like something they should be wanting to do? You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need more casual preppers.
Oh man, you're spot on.
Because you guys are fun. This is kind of fun. We're doing stuff that's kind of for concerning topics, it should be fun, and people should laugh and have a good time doing it and collaborate with people. And so it should be seen in that kind of light versus always a doom and gloom, sad face as you're talking about various topics. And looking at it more of it as just a practical thing that people should do, kind of like people get car insurance all the time, and no one.
That's exactly right.
It doesn't matter what religion they are or what political views they have. I mean, you get car insurance and you get homeowners insurance, you get life insurance, and you have medical insurance, and you hope you never have to use any of it. And it's just a big waste of money. But at least with prepping, it's a big waste of money, but you actually get something tangible that you could hold, like a cool knife or something.
Well, and then
so I think
it's an insurance policy that actually pays out in the end.
Yeah, totally.
And it's fun. Like, that's the thing. I'm hoping that we can, people like you, people like us, we can show that prepping can actually be like super fun. Like, it is a hobby for me, and it's a hobby that I enjoy doing, And so, yeah, I think we just need to try and push that message out as much as possible.
Totally. I think you guys are evangelists for, making it fun and making it exciting and keeping it more lighthearted, and just like, so it's more accessible to people, I think, versus if you guys are doing your podcast in a full hazmat suit and scaring people with guns in the background and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly kind of what you're doing. You kind of, if you look at you just look like a normal everyday software engineer, right?
Yeah. I have no training in preparedness. I didn't go to prepper school or anything, and I wasn't in the Navy SEALs or anything. I have Wonder Woman in the background of my office, and kind of I don't shy away from my nerdiness, from my nerdy background. So.
For sure. No, I think that's awesome.
No, it's like how we want. It's like we want everybody to be everyday normal people that just prepare.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we hit on this a little bit, but let's talk about, an EDC kit for an urban prepper. I'd love to kind of hear how you approach an EDC kit being an urban prepper. I mean, because again, Cam and I,
we could carry a sword around in town.
Yeah, we really
no
could.
one would really be bothered by it.
Well, I could seriously carry, an AR-15 downtown.
All camo and have 6 guns on your back.
So it is so different for us than it is for a guy like you. So let's kind of talk about, how do you approach an EDC kit as an urban prepper?
Well, if we're talking normal, everyday, like things, there's no Chaz or anything like that you're worried about. I'd probably, for me, I'd leverage a lot of technology. Things kind of start from your smartphone.
Nice.
Versus if you're a rural prepper, things probably start with your knife.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten a knife fight for years now. So
oh man, you're so lucky.
So most of the stuff I do is try to fully leverage the smartphone, and because that's your main communication source.
Yeah.
And with the various apps and stuff, you have a lot of capabilities, but you also don't want to be tracked by Google or anything like that, or you want to make sure to keep it charged. So I kind of build my EDC around that. So ensuring that I have offline and online data within the apps on my phone, whether it be emergency apps or something like that, or just communication methods. SD cards I have an offline copy of Wikipedia, for example, on my phone.
Oh, cool.
Just in case, even though I've never really had to use it for offline purposes, but if I needed to, I would. And so for me, I want to blend in an urban environment. I don't want anyone to think that I'm a prepper. I think if I was walking around, most people, they just think I'm some dork in a hat and glasses and not into prepping and with kind of at the obsessive level that I'm into it. So for me, for a pocket knife, for example, I don't want a pocket knife sticking out of my pocket that my boss at work is going to see. I want a super deep pocket clip, and I want to make sure that it's legal within an urban environment. And I'm going to have a smaller multi-tool than someone that might be in more of a rural environment. So I think the tools, like the hard tools, I think lend itself more. They're more readily used, less in an urban environment than some of the more electronic and gadgets and cool things like that are in an urban environment.
I love the fact that you start with the smartphone, because a lot of preppers shy away from that type of thing. They're like, "Oh, well, you shouldn't rely on this type of technology. It's not reliable." And you're right, for the most part, in a really crazy SHTF scenario, it's not going to be super reliable. But for 99% of the time, it's there, and it's your number one go-to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so tell me about, if you don't mind, what emergency apps do you like?
Oh, so let me just go through my phone. I recently did a video on this.
Yeah, I saw that actually. It's cool.
Yeah, but for me, like before I start doing the apps, I want to make sure that I have privacy and security in mind. So I'm doing a lot of stuff with regard to disabling network access from various apps, so they're not just like constantly pinging my location.
Yes.
I also use that leverage Faraday bags for EDC purposes, because I want to go offline every once in a while. Like
Silent Pocket's great for that.
Yeah, so the Silent Pocket's the one I use for EDC purposes because it's super small.
Awesome.
But I don't want to be tracked on my way to work all the time. So I prefer to be more like a dolphin or a whale that comes up for air and gets your digital content and then goes underground.
I see you as a dolphin. I can see.
Yeah. So a cool app that I use for kind of disabling network access is the NetGuard. I also sometimes use a VPN. I use NordVPN for the privacy stuff, and then trying to make sure that the device is encrypted. But as far as like apps, and then I'm kind of anti using Facebook and Twitter apps on my mobile device because there's a lot of tracking that goes on for that. So I make shortcut links for the browser versions, and I use more of a privacy-based browser like
Netscape
Brave
browser.
Yeah. I use Brave on my mobile device. So I'll do a Brave link to my Facebook page or to my Twitter page or Instagram, even though Instagram doesn't play nicely with browsers, instead of having like the app, because that app, basically I'm giving access to my contacts and my photos and my location and everything. I don't necessarily like that. So I do all like web versions and make a shortcut. Cool. And then from there, I guess for comms, I like the Repeater Book. I like the scanner app for that. I also use Gotenna mesh for some testing.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
How does it work in like around where you are?
It works better. It's better in an urban environment. Yeah, it's well. You have to worry about the buildings and stuff because it's line of sight. But I think it's better suited for urban preppers than it would be for rural preppers.
I think so
you really don't have that much distance. But I imagine a lot of the citizens of Chaz probably would be using Gotenna meshes because they work within a grid. For navigation, I use the OSM and for offline maps, and then I have a couple other ones like Backcountry, and then I have some emergency first aid kit ones like for the Red Cross. And then for Intel, I like there's a survival manual. It's an offline manual, kind of like the SAS survival guide.
Yeah.
I use Kiwik for my offline Wikipedia, and there's a CCW app for kind of reciprocity rules and stuff. So those are just some of the ones.
Man, see, yeah, you're loaded.
He understands it.
Yes.
He's a software, obviously. You know what you're doing there.
We might have to bring it back on one day and just like specifically talk smartphone stuff because I love it, man.
Yeah,
I like that stuff too. So it would be better to hear from somebody that has a better
I have
background in
phones
technology than most.
I have phones all over the place here, so I have
Holy
I
moly.
do various apps. We work on software development for apps and stuff, so
Yeah.
I have a lot of different phones, and I do testing of it.
That's fantastic, man. That's really cool. No, I love it. Hey, Cam, do you want to quickly talk, since
I
we're
was
talking
going to-
about this?
We're just going to go right into this.
Yeah, let's talk
All
about
right.
a VPN.
Yeah. So, we're just talking about apps,
Mm-hmm.
VPN software. Hey, we got a good one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Surfshark VPN. So there's been a huge increase in cyber attacks during the COVID. So, hey, Surfshark has you protected. The one thing about Surfshark VPN, they being a VPN that they kind of let you go gray man. You can go online. You don't have to be tracked. They're not going to send you ads on the stuff that you shouldn't be looking at. That's what I like about Surfshark. The other thing that's great about them is that one subscription with Surfshark gives you access to Surfshark on your computer, on your phone, on your BlackBerry, on your handspring, on
Game Boy.
on your Game Boy,
Yeah.
your Lynx system,
Yeah.
whatever you want.
It's like a Genesis.
Surfshark, your one subscription goes to all of these. You don't have to resubscribe, or you don't have a limited amount of devices, which is sweet. They also have a HackLock ID protection that sends you an email when your email gets stolen, which happens all the time. The other cool thing being a VPN is that you can just stream stuff from as if you were in the UK, because it uses different servers in different countries. So nobody can really track you. One subscription covers all the devices, no matter the operating system. You get unlimited access, 24/7 support, and you can even try it for 30 days for free. The cost is what's crazy. If you go now, you get 85% off. Plus, with our code, that's what gets you that. It's casual preppers like you use everywhere in your grocery store, wherever, every day, all the time. And you get 3 extra months. So I just recently signed up. $47 gives me 27 months.
Jeez.
That's $1.77 a month.
You'll probably be dead by then anyways.
I probably will be.
Yeah.
So go and check them out. Go to surfshark.deal/casual preppers and enter our promo code. And it's basically, really almost free.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically giving it to you.
It's
You might as well.
insane, all the stuff that you get with them. So anyway, there's
Yeah.
one for you to try out, Mr.
Yeah,
Urban
I'm looking
Prepper.
at it right. I'm looking at it right now. It looks like it gets
It has a really clean interface.
over 1 million downloads, 4.2 stars, 12K reviews. It looks. I'm going to try it out.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you
I'll-
should. You should. I wanted to try
I'll use
Nord.
the coupon code.
yeah.
Do it.
You're the best. You're the best. man.
Just have it in your clipboard and just paste it everywhere.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, we're talking urban prepper kind of versus rural prepper. A lot of times when we have that discussion, the biggest thing is, what are the advantages of being a rural prepper? And it usually comes back to that because naturally you kind of think that's where you want to be if you're a prepper. You want to be out in the sticks. But there has got to be some advantages to being a city boy. There has to be.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, what are some of the pluses of being in your situation?
With rural preppers, I do think that it lends itself better towards establishing a set of skills and knowledge that could be applied in a survival situation in a rural environment. So I think rural preppers are better. Primitive fire starting, for example.
Yeah.
A rural prepper, or it might be more of like a bushcraft survivalist, will probably use some kind of friction-based fire starter or a ferrocerium rod or anything like that. A urban prepper is just going to use a big lighter
Use an app.
and try to simplify and try. Yeah. So there's some things that we want to have.
Do they have a ferro rod app?
If you just hold your phone face down for 2 minutes, it starts a fire.
It just vibrates like
Just buy a
really
Samsung.
vigorously.
Yeah, so I think that urban preppers are looking for optimized things for certain areas of preparedness. That they'd rather. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of hours trying to master the bow drill when I could be mastering something more technology based. I think,
True.
Whether it be a comms or some kind of comms.
To be honest, I think that
whatever.
should be true if you're a rural or an urban prepper.
A lot of people talk about too, going back, we always get you guys used a Bic lighter or whatever, you're not true preppers. And I'm like, if there's technology and we have these available resources, why there's no problem with using them. It's way more convenient. And like the mesh network with, like you were talking about using the Go 10 and stuff like that. So there's nothing, you should know those different options.
Well, yeah, like why go back to something if you don't
You
have
need to go prehistoric.
It's like if you're going to go hunt a deer, would you want to go hunt with a slingshot? Or
Yeah.
would you want to hunt with a compound
David and
bow?
Goliath try and
Yeah.
flip a rock at it.
You'd be a dummy if you wanted to
Yeah.
go back to the slingshot, right? So I think you're completely right, and I don't think that's even specific to urban preppers. I think you're right across the board. You know, I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, so urban preppers look for, sometimes we look for shortcuts for certain things that makes your life a little bit easier and I think we gravitate more towards working within the grid, business as usual, EDC purposes, and less on, while we still do survival type stuff, but it's just a little bit of different lens that you're looking at because of your situation. If I was in, I'm not exactly where your exact location is, but let's say I'm in the middle of the woods somewhere, I would probably gravitate towards some other more long-term self-sustainability type preparedness topics and philosophies, just because I'm not going to have immediate access to a Starbucks within walking distance, for example.
Yeah.
I always think too, like in any scenario, can you completely avoid dealing with or getting things from an urban environment? I don't think you would be able to, the sustainability in a rural environment. Yeah. If you've built it up that way, but there's a lot of things that we rely on that come from the city. So I feel like you kind of have to have that knowledge of, most movies you see in apocalyptic scenario, they always have to go into like Atlanta or they have to go to, it's like, I kind of need, it's a little intimidating to know how well I would function in that environment, but the possibility that I may have to face being in that environment.
Yeah. A lot of things are just 2 days away for 2 day shipping online.
Right. You just have a drone drop it in your back door now, can't you?
Yeah, I've been getting into drones. That's my new thing, is trying to lever another urban preparedness thing where I just bought a.
Can you fly anywhere there? No more than 5 feet high.
Yeah, I've been using it. I have some various maps to kind of show like the no-fly zone or how high you could go, but I'm trying to really leverage a Mavic Mini for preparedness topics, and not for like making cool camera shots or anything, but I want to have
surveillance.
Again, one of my fears, neighborhood surveillance.
Yeah, we've talked
due to civil unrest.
I think it's a great idea.
So you could program these things to go to a certain set of waypoints around your neighborhood and kind of get an overall look of what's going on nearby and have it come back. And so I'm trying to really look at that, and that's another maybe more of an urban type thing that people do. Most rural people, the rural preppers that I know say, I'd shoot that down if I saw it above my house.
Well, we actually almost had that situation.
We did
this last year.
Same thing.
Cam he brought his drone up, and we're about a mile away from each other, I think, ish. Right?
Yeah.
And so he was trying to see if he could get to my house with the drone, and I'm kind of in a little bit of a neighborhood, and it was right behind my house, and my neighbors saw it, and I talked to them the next day. They're like, whose drone was that? I'm like, well, that was Cam. He was just trying to see if he could get it. He's like, oh, good thing I almost shot it down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Why? What are they spying on?
Yeah, it's funny, the mentality sometimes with that.
I was actually going to try and tie like a DVD to it and try and fly it over to Kobe's house. I was like, maybe if we need to transport goods in between us, I want to see how good I can do it. But
DVD, that's what you went with?
I was going to drop The Burbs at your house on DVD.
Awesome. That's awesome.
But, I wanted to use it for like with the GoTen and Mesh, for example. It's a mesh
networking. I wondered about that.
Because it's line of sight. I did some testing where you could use a drone to bring it up to 400 feet then, and then
you would have a perfect clear shot to it.
Yeah, you'd have a clear shot of it and be able to provide communication for a city area for
I wondered about that.
Multiple miles.
That's awesome.
So that's another thing that I've been doing testing on. Again, that's more of like an urban type thing. So I was kind of influenced by the movie I Am Legend, where Will Smith, like at noon every day, he was broadcasting something. Yeah. I could see the same thing with like having a drone that's broadcasting at noon every day that has a GoTen and mesh and be able to do mesh.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
That don't have their ham radio license or something like that.
Put your GoTen on it and go lodge it up in a radio tower.
Totally,
yeah, exactly.
And if everyone did that, if there's multiple ones of that, you would have easy communication.
Yeah, you'd
from
have a
drone
really
to drone
good network that way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
This is maybe off subject a little bit, but you up there, are you looking at making an urban prepper group a little bit up there? Do you have people that you're personally collaborating with on a prepping level?
I kind of call them roundtables where I have discussions with like-minded preppers, but I've participated in other groups, but for me, I try to keep the prepping like real, like what we're going through now. I try to keep it pretty select few. The circle of trust is very small, so it's your immediate family members, because I don't necessarily want.
You don't put it on Craigslist. Hey, I'm a prepper looking for other preppers.
Yeah, I follow your YouTube channel. I need to come by for get some food.
Yeah, I've kind of wondered about that, because we've kind of kept it the same. We've kept it pretty tight knit. Cam and I obviously collaborate. We're a mile away from each other. It doesn't make any sense for us not to. But other than that, it's basically just family.
Yeah, pretty much is.
And I know a lot of other preppers really like to get together with other preppers in the area, and they really like to collaborate on those types of things. But I have shied away from it a little bit, and I just kind of wondered where you were on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, like in a stressful situation. I mean, in work stress, that's different than like, some emergency stress. I don't, you could get away. I think there's some people while I would like them in normal everyday life and everything, maybe in this, in a true emergency, I gotta want to stick with close, family and super, super close friends that, that you can handle the stress. Yeah. It's already going to be a stressful situation.
Yeah, I totally understand.
You're a great friend, but you would be a burden.
I totally would be. 100%. Yeah. Okay, that's great. There's another aspect of, the difference between rural and urban prepping, and that's bugging in versus bugging out. Cam and I are constantly talking about these scenarios, and
for us, it works. To bug in is probably the most logical thing.
I mean, the scenario would have to be pretty specific and pretty crazy for us to really bug out, to be honest, right? Yeah. And bugging in is constantly our number one choice, but I could see how that could be different for somebody in an urban environment. So I just wondered if you could kind of talk to how you feel about that situation.
Yeah, when I first started getting into prepping, I was into the bug out thing, because that's the gateway drug for prepping.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
the bug out bag.
That's the first. That's the first prepper term you learn.
Yeah,
bug in.
Well, EDC and bug out bag is like the first one.
It is.
But the more that I've kind of, as the years have gone, I'm like you, it's going to take a lot for me to want to bug out from my home, where I have all of my supplies and all of my planning and all shelter and protection and all that kind of stuff. It'd have to take a really extreme event for that. But if we've, I used to live closer to the city. The more kids that you have, the farther away you have to live from the city to actually be able to afford something. So,
yeah, sure.
So I could see someone that's in downtown Manhattan or something like that. If there's it's going really bad, even there, you probably want, if you're in a high-rise building, you probably want to bug in as well. But if you had to, that would probably be more of an extreme, like urban one, where you would want to actually bug out to some kind of off-grid location, kind of off-grid.
Sure, yeah,
the Hamptons or something. But for me, I mean, it's all about bug in. It's all about getting those systems, and bug out might just be more of a temporary thing where power's out, and maybe you're just bugging out to a hotel that's down in a different town or something, and maybe your bug out bag isn't really a bug out bag; it's a flight suitcase,
overnight bag or something. Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a great way to look at it, because sometimes bugging out really isn't going to make a shelter in the woods. Yeah,
you might just bug out to your backyard or into the driveway.
Yeah, and thinking about your bug out bag in that way is like, it's kind of like an overnight bag too. If like something happens and you just got to go quick, you're ready to go, and I think that's great.
I think a lot of people, for the bug out bags, they kind of start making it towards like an inch bag where I'm never coming home.
Yeah, right.
When really we're talking, it should be a short-term evacuation bag that provides basic supplies like an overnight trip, versus, all of the kind of the extreme stuff. And I do the same thing. So
it's less fun to think of it that way, for sure.
Yeah. It's less fun. Hey, I'm going to make a YouTube channel and talk about my overnight suitcase that I have for
here's my
when I go to the hotel,
and here's my extra pair of underwear, and here's my toothpaste. Yeah.
So I have a question for you, and not to go into your plan, but where you live on the coast, would you go west to the water, or would you go east to the Cascades, like to the mountains?
Yeah. So
you probably thought about both. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. You kind of have to have different routes. I think north, south, east, west, basically, because if we're talking Cascadia subduction zone, for example, with the Cascadia fault line, that's out in the ocean. And if you're talking big tsunami stuff, you're not going to want to go west because you're going into the line of fire. So you're going to want to go east. So, but with Mount Rainier, for example, that's more southeast, and so you'll probably want to go up more north than in that situation, if Mount Rainier erupts or something, and kind of have to keep track of the lahars. If you're talking earthquake, that's going to be more distributed across the area. So I think it's good to have some kind of plan of action for north, south, east, west, depending on what the emergency event is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the folks from Chaz were coming over, I would probably want to go, south or west, and that particular.
Right. Do you ever get pretty nervous about? I remember being up in Portland thinking about the volcanoes all around me. I'm like, jeez. Oh, it's like, is that something you really worry a lot about, or are you more worried about your own environment? Your own city?
Usually you have a little bit of a warning on those. It just doesn't all of a sudden. I mean, when Mount St. Helens erupted, it wasn't just like out of the blue. Like they kind of knew something was grumbling.
Yeah.
But I'm more worried about the out of the blue earthquake because whenever I'm driving around them, I'm like
weird stuff.
So. It all depends on if Pierce Brosnan's around is really pushing the nerve.
Yeah.
For Dante's Peak.
Yeah. Yeah. If you see that Suburban driving around,
some people just don't want to heed the warnings. You know.
He had some good. I loved how he had the exhaust pipe above, so he was able to go through the lake.
Oh gosh,
like
yeah, snorkel.
And he had a nice little Jeep. Yeah, he had a little nice satellite-based GPS tracking to save him at the end. That was pretty. And he could have had a nice first aid kit because I think he had a real nasty leg.
He did, yeah.
I think his arm is one of his
grandma's
arm,
issues.
Yeah, I think his forearm was sticking out.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, the grandma had burns and stuff. But for earthquakes, I'm always driving around like, what would I do if there's a big earthquake right now? Because it could happen at any time. So.
Wow, if it happened during the podcast, that'd be something.
That would be something. Sorry about the noise, folks. It's just an earthquake in Seattle.
How do we handle this? We've talked about it.
Here's what I'm going to do right now.
Follow basic procedures. Hold on.
That's how you get downloads. That's how you get downloads.
Fake
right
one
there.
during it.
Live earthquake experience with the urban prepper. That's how you get people to click.
Man, yeah.
I'm just running around screaming.
So something we talk about a lot, and I think is, again, more important in an urban area probably, is being a gray man. And it just, again, for us, it's less of an issue because the entire town is running around with a deer rifle and in camo.
That's gray man. That's like
vernal. Here, if you want to blend in,
that is your gray man.
That's your gray man. You got to do that, So is this something that you think about, every day, or, obviously you talk about thinking about it with your EDC kits and things, you don't want, a sword hanging off your side or whatever it might be. But tell us kind of how you approach being a gray man in an urban environment. And if you have any quick and easy tips for people that want to kind of utilize that concept too.
Yeah. So, I mean, gray man's the whole concept is just blending in with your environment. And so for me, that it seems like it could be like a Jeff Foxworthy skit where you might be a prepper if and start thinking about those things, because I could usually spot a prepper within a couple seconds if they have a paracord bracelet, or if they have some kind of a tactical looking pants, cargo pants, or if they have a
goose
pocket knife sticking
out.
out.
On a leash.
If they're using redneck accents all the time.
Yeah, you could see if they're a CCW carrier, because usually there's some kind of printing on there. If they have molly webbing on their backpack or some kind of tactical pet, you could really spot them out. And I don't think that's really following gray man. But I think a lot of those people, they don't care about the pet. They want to kind of, they love it.
And I think that's a choice you have to make too, because I love that stuff too, man. I love tactical backpacks.
Tactical.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. So you kind of have to make that decision which way you want to go,
Yeah. So, I mean, I go with, because I work in like an office environment, and because prepping kind of has a kind of negative stereotype with a lot of people because they're used to seeing doomsday preppers and some of the crazies out there.
Yeah.
I don't want a coworker or my boss or some client or someone else thinking that I'm something that I'm not based off of some kind of item that they might notice on me. So I'm always trying to go like, I don't wear any kind of branding or anything that shows like, I don't know, 511 tactical angle hat or something. And so everything that I
Amazon Basics and Microsoft Word.
Yeah, but it like if you're out in the woods more, you would be following gray man concept if you had a hunting rifle on you and a safety vest and camouflage stuff. You blend in totally. And if you're in the Capitol Hill area of Seattle, you're following gray man. It might be like having
dressing as a rider
or something, or
cocaine and Antifa t-shirt.
I feel like the Northwest, you could probably get by with a lot of different disguises, and people would never.
There's a lot of different.
So much variety up there.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to do it in a way that you're comfortable in your own skin. So I think I've kept a pretty consistent look too. So I'm not, while I'm following gray men within the Seattle area because of the YouTube channel and everything, I get recognized all the time because I have a consistent look. So it has but for most people, I think just kind of what the majority of people are wearing and how they look, you should probably dress like that and try to make sure that you blend in, because then no one will really know.
That means I got to gain like
who you really are.
I really do. Gotta
are you guys some of the skinnier folks in your region then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it really isn't. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. One more thing I would like to talk about, and when I think about urban prepping, the one thing I think about that becomes an issue is space. Right? I mean, having that space to store the things that we talk about all the time: food, water, meds, ammunition, geese, and all that kind of stuff. What do you do, and what are your tips for somebody who's an urban prepper and is getting into prepping and for storing all of this stuff we talk about all the time? Yeah.
I really try to find people or ways of thinking that influences you. I think what they do in Japan and Japanese apartments for clever space storage, what they do for tiny homes, even like some of the survival bunkers, like for Atlas survival shelters. The way that they look for the various nooks and crannies to be able to hide stuff, I think is pretty cool. When I used to be in an apartment, we leveraged a lot of things behind couches and we had sleigh beds. So our bed frame was like a sleigh style bed. So in the back of it, we had our 5-gallon water bottles, for example. And then underneath it, you have your year's worth of toilet paper. So you kind of have to get a little bit more creative in the various methods that you use for organizing and storing your gear. Another thing that I did was, after I kind of maxed out my space, I looked for inexpensive storage units at various locations, kind of had to have some caches, basically.
Yeah, it's like a survival cache.
It was a survival cache. So it's kind of like on Breaking Bad, Heisenberg had his money cache. I had my prepping cache.
You had your water cache.
So, water cache. I had water, food, some bug out bags and stuff like that in a couple different locations. So I think you have to get a little bit more creative as far as distributing out your supplies. It doesn't all have to just be within your home. It's probably a good thing to distribute it out, because if your home catches on fire, you still want to have some supplies elsewhere. So that's what I've done in my preparedness planning, is just to try to distribute it and have it in different locations, and then also clever hiding of things.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that always just seems like it would be a really difficult thing as an urban prepper if you live in a small apartment and you have a family. It's like, where do you put this stuff? It's hard to raise chickens or goats or something. You know what I mean? So it makes it tough.
Yeah, I always say there's a fine line between prepping and hoarding, and you can very easily fall into the hoarding part of prepping, where you have 300 knives or something.
Don't talk about that. Don't say. My wife is going to hear this, and now there's going to be an issue.
Sorry, it's a touchy subject. For me, it's flashlights. I have way too many flashlights. I do not need another flashlight, but I still want them. So.
I get obsessed with flashlights too.
Yeah. Mine is just EDC knives, man. I feel like I just can't get enough of them. Like, there's just not enough at my house, but just don't tell my wife.
Do you rotate them, or do you have them like in a display case? Or
I have like a little EDC bin next to my bed, and I've got probably 25 knives in there, and I just...
Kobe has them nice and organized.
I kind of just, whatever my mood is like, I grab that knife, Yeah.
I use a cigar box next to our front door that has it looks like a humidifier, and that's where my EDC kind of knives go. And everything, so
that's awesome.
Easy to put
Let
on.
me write that down. Say that again.
Humidifier. Humidor.
What's your address?
Yeah.
Seattle.
The
Urban Prepper.
Cigar box. Okay, got it.
Dude, that's. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for my address, sometimes when I ship out packages to people, I don't. Well, most of my the subscribers and stuff are really cool people. I still sometimes will put like phony addresses. So sometimes my address is to Century League Seahawks player Paul Allen.
Nice.
House or something so I kind of mix it up like that. But
that's Gray Man right there. I love it.
That's total Gray Man.
It's kind of like a VPN for your mailing address.
Yeah, and I do a VPN for filming videos too. So because people started tracking me down based off of they get so fancy where they were triangulating my coordinates based off of some gas app that I was looking at to show the nearest gas station, and based off of the miles, you were right here. And
good gracious, man!
Wait a minute, you're not Russell Wilson. That's what it said.
So I film with I film with certain red herrings behind where I'll have like a certain street sign that's there that I make sure is visible. So then they go and focus on that. And really that's not where I'm at. Or I was just there for that particular.
That's kind of creepy.
Try to mix it up. So.
Gosh,
Yeah, that's my UPN VPN.
Yeah.
YouTube VPN.
YouTube VPN. That's crazy.
Wow, that's nuts.
YouTube.
Do you guys
is
ever get
extreme.
spotted? You guys ever get recognized?
Not too much. I mean, because people don't see us as often. It's mostly an
voice.
audio thing, so it's voice. So
Nor are they excited to meet us.
nor are they ever excited. Yeah, it's never a fun thing for them or us.
Oh,
so,
no, it's casual preppers. We got to go.
I think the only way we would maybe be recognized if we're like, oh, dang, somewhere in a store and be like, what? What was that? That's about the only thing that's really recognizable.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
yeah, I mean, YouTube for us is, less of a thing. It's more, the audio side of it. So we don't really get recognized that often. And we're rarely in an urban environment where there's a lot of people. We're in our little town like 99% of the time. And, yeah, so it's less of a thing for us.
Yeah, we're not that.
I have more of a face for radio. You guys are like, in shape and buff and everything.
In shape, yeah. Well, that is not the best camera on that. Yeah, no, that's not a thing.
You did a bad job with the superimposed heads.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a blast. We appreciate
had a great
you.
time.
Is there anything else you wanna say to the audience while you got them a captive audience?
Let me borrow your audience for a
Yeah,
moment.
dude, borrow them.
We'll borrow your audience.
If you like urban prepping and if you like this kind of concept and you don't want to be scared off by anything, you can feel free to visit me on YouTube at the Urban Prepper and also on Facebook and Twitter. And I have all of them. I even have different alt tech sites and stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, always happy to collaborate with people. And I think that's I love all constructive kind of feedback. We were talking earlier about like any kind of negative comments. Nothing's going to hurt my feelings. So if it's something that I do you don't like, I'm not going to lose sleep about it. And I like talking about it and trying to refine things based off of that constructive feedback. So
awesome.
if you guys like that kind of stuff, for me, that's all about that's like software engineering optimization. So I'm just optimizing my system of prepping.
Yeah, guys, please go check him out. Go subscribe at all of those places, YouTube and all that stuff. He's got some fantastic content. Before we kind of sign off, though, today's podcast is brought to you by TacPack, Cameron. Are you excited about that?
I love TacPack.
TacPack's been with us for, 150
Forever.
years. 150 years, probably. The only monthly tactical subscription box with useful professional grade stuff inside. Use the code. What's the code?
Casual
Preppers. Get a free separate bag sent of EDC gear along with your first month's TacPack. If you can beat that deal, I don't know what to tell you. Go use that other deal.
Right.
But this one's as good as you can get, I think. Head to tacpack.com, use our code Casual Preppers. And if you like shooting ARs, if you like EDC gear, if you like feeling good about yourself, go to TacPack, use our code. It's going to be fantastic.
You should.
Cliff, Urban Prepper, thank you so much. You've been fantastic. Best guest we've had on in 6 months, probably.
There's tons of questions to ask you, so hopefully people go and check you out. Because
that was a blast. I really enjoyed talking with you guys.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Make sure to go subscribe to our podcast. Go to subscribe to the Urban Prepper on YouTube and stay survived.